What if someone spent more than 40 years in prison for a murder conviction that was later overturned, only to face deportation the very next day? This is the real-life story of Subramanyam Vedam, a man whose fight for freedom didn't end when his conviction was vacated. After spending over 4 decades behind bars for a murder he has always maintained he did not commit, Vedam's conviction was officially overturned in August after new evidence revealed that prosecutors had withheld critical ballistics information during his trials. For the first time in over 40 years, freedom finally seemed possible. But just one day after the charges were dropped, everything changed again. Instead of walking out as a free man, Vedam was taken into custody by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. A new battle began, this time not criminal court, but immigration court. And even though a judge has now ruled that Vedam can remain in the United States, his release is still not immediate. He and his attorney must still file a bond request, and the Department of Homeland Security has until May 4 to appeal the decision. During Thursday's ruling, immigration judge Adam Pananopoulos highlighted something unusual in Vedam's case. He emphasized Vedam's transformation over decades in prison, describing how he dedicated himself to education, personal growth, and mentoring others. The judge noted that the last 44 years of Vedam's life reflected a new journey, one marked by purpose, reflection, and change. He also pointed to Vedam's clear desire to finally start over at the age of 64. In a statement after the ruling, Vedam expressed gratitude, thanking his family and friends who stood by him through decades of uncertainty. He said their belief in him and in justice helped carry him through 44 years of confinement. But this legal battle has unfolded during a tense time in the U.S. immigration system, where deportation cases have become increasingly difficult to fight. At one point, Vedam faced the possibility of being deported to India, a country he left as an infant and barely knows. His family strongly opposed that outcome. His sister, Saraswati Vedam, testified in support of him, describing how devastating it would be for the family if he were removed from the country they built their lives in. She explained that despite the decades apart, their bond never broke. She also shared the emotional moment when she first learned his conviction had been overturned. It came in the middle of the night, after more than 40 years of waiting. But that moment of relief didn't last long. Shortly after, she received another shocking call. Her brother was not coming home. He was in ICE custody. Vedam's original conviction dated back over 40 years, linked to the killing of his former roommate, 19-year-old Thomas Kinzer. At trial, prosecutors claimed evidence connected him to the crime. But years later, new legal teams uncovered something critical, an FBI report suggesting that forensic evidence used in court had been incomplete and potentially misleading. That discovery became the turning point in the case. A judge eventually ruled that Vedam did not receive a fair trial, and his conviction was vacated. But even after decades of incarceration, his legal journey was not over. In February, immigration authorities moved to reopen his deportation case, arguing that despite the overturned conviction, a prior drug-related charge still made him removable under immigration law. Vedam testified in court that he is not a violent person and described his life in prison as one focused on education, self-improvement, and responsibility. He spoke about plans for the future, including living with family in Sacramento and continuing his education if released. He also spoke emotionally about the life he never had, never becoming a husband or father, but hoping to become a guiding presence for his nieces and grandniece. For his sister, the ruling brought relief, but not closure. She described years of emotional whiplash, of hope rising and falling again and again. Now she says the family is simply waiting for the moment they can finally reunite after more than 40 years apart. And while a judge has ruled in his favor, the final outcome is still not guaranteed. Because in this case, freedom was not the end of the story. It was only another chapter in a fight that has lasted a lifetime.